and welcome back to the channel. Welcome to our Tuesday night live broadcast. So I'm super duper excited to talk to you about this topic tonight because this topic, so if you rewind almost 8 years ago, I was a weight loss failure. I didn't want to be, but I was. And what is a weight loss failure? Well, it's somebody who's tried to lose weight, but who's failed. And you may have had some short-term successes in there. Like I had some short-term successes, which means I lost 20 pounds, but then I went and found it again. Or I lost 30 pounds, then I went and found it again. That's not success. That is like short-term success that, whatever. So when I'm talking about like being a weight loss failure, that means even if I lost little bits of weight, I would always go find it again. And so I was a weight loss failure for more than a decade. I tried so many different diets under the sun and I struggled and I failed and I got frustrated and I failed and I gave up and I started again and I failed again. And it was really after restarting again 7.5 years ago and really stumbling and struggling those first several weeks that I had the epiphany of this concept that we're going to talk about tonight in detail. Because what had happened is I started to lose weight again. I committed to another diet, whatever it looked like, starving myself, eating 500 calories a day, cutting out all the carbs, whatever it was that I was doing that time. That particular time I had chose that I was going to try to do something sustainable instead of all these fads that I had been doing. And so I was going to combine fitness with nutrition. And the way I came up with that combination is when I looked at all the different before and afters, when I looked at all these, pictures of people that had lost weight, the ones that had used fitness with nutrition looked the best. They were the hottest. Even when you looked at celebrities who had fitness in their regimen, they had the tightest skin, they looked the youngest, and it was just like, okay, like I don't like working out at all. I'm 288 pounds, but something about it seems to work. So I was willing to do something that I didn't like to get the result that I wanted. And so here I was combining fitness with nutrition. I'm like, all right, I'm in, I got this is it. And, and the first day I'm breaking into some oatmeal cream pies that I had stashed away that I had hidden, because somehow hiding them in the back of the top cupboard was going to keep me from getting to them. Yeah, freaking right. First week, I lost some, and then I'm, potty training our firstborn, and I find myself in a McDonald's drive-thru. And so I found myself repeating the same things that I had done again and again and again and again. Losing 2, gaining 3. Losing 2, going and gaining those same 2 pounds back. Have you ever done that? Have you ever lost weight and then gained it right back? And then you lost some weight and then you gained it right back. So here I would be working hard for 3 or 4 days, 5, 6 days. And then in one single night, going through the McDonald's drive-thru, getting a supersized Big Mac meal, I would blow all that progress. And it was so frustrating. And all of a sudden, I just had this epiphany of what we're going to talk about tonight. Okay? I like that word epiphany. I know I've used it twice already in the past 3 minutes. All right. So the epiphany that I had was that there's 2 phases when it comes to weight loss. Okay? There's 2 phases when it comes to weight loss. There's the focus phase, with the capital F-O-C-U-S, the focus phase, and then there's the freedom phase, okay? And so these 2 phases, let me explain them really quick, and then we're going to take a deep dive, we're going to dive in, we're going to talk about them. Yeah. So the focus phase is where you have set a goal. You've set a health goal. You've set a weight loss goal. Whatever it is, you've set a goal when it comes to your health. And to achieve a goal, you've got to make some changes, right? To get a change, you've got to make a change. To achieve a goal, you've got to do actions that line up with your goal. Because if you want to lose weight, but you want to keep doing the things you've been doing that have gotten you overweight, that's not really going to work, right? You can't keep doing the same thing, but expect a different result. And so it was like, okay, if I'm in the focus phase, I've got to do things that line up with my goal. And I had done some research on, weight loss. And one of the things I saw or read was that the number one determination of losing weight is being in a calorie deficit. Now, there's a lot of little things that, go into that, but at the end of the day, you have to be in a calorie deficit. It takes 3,500 calories, being in a deficit of 3,500 extra calories to lose 1 pound. Okay, we're not going to get into a science lesson on how that works. So if I wanted to lose 2 pounds a week, which is a weight loss industry like, good job, then I needed to be in a deficit of 7,000 calories a week. Well, I wasn't going to do that, willy-nilly in it. I wasn't going to do that like fancy footing around, going through the McDonald's drive-through. I was only going to be able to be in a 7,000 calorie deficit to lose my 2 pounds a week by being focused, all right? Through that research I had done, I had also read, I didn't really know if I believed it at the time, that it was easier to maintain your weight than to lose weight. Because when you're maintaining your weight, you can eat more. You have more freedom, which was how I came up with the focus phase and the freedom phase. That was nothing that we read somewhere, nothing I read somewhere. That was literally, like, for me, connecting the dots that really helped me succeed after more than a decade of failing. And so the focus phase is where you have a goal. You set a goal. Here's where you're at, here's where you're starting, and here's where you want to go, okay? Sometimes it's this close, sometimes it's this close. So when I was first starting, I was in a size 22. I weighed 288 pounds. That was where I was starting. Where I wanted to go was a size, I didn't know what size, but 130 pounds. So I was going from 288 to 130. I was going to need to lose 128 pounds. Yeah, I think that's right. To get to there. 158 pounds. 158 pounds to go from where I was to where I wanted to be. And knowing that, listen, the quickest way to get from where you're at to where you want to be is a straight line. A straight line there. It's kind of like if you're going somewhere and you set your GPS, there's several different ways to get there. I always choose the fastest way. Like, there's sometimes a way that'll take me 40 minutes and another way that'll take me an hour and 10 minutes. Well, why would I want to take an hour and 10 minutes to get to the same place that I can get to in 40? Like, that seems pretty dang simple. And what makes the difference? The road you choose to turn on, the route you take, it's different turns, different roads, getting there in 2 different times. So it's the same thing in the focus phase. How focused you are during the focus phase determines how quickly you will go from point A to point B, from where you're at to where you want to be. The more focused, the less wrong turns, the less cheats, the less getting off plans, the faster you're going to get to your goal. And this was about 3 weeks into my recommitment, my let's go, I'm going to do this thing when I first had this epiphany. And I had messed up again and pretty much destroyed all the progress I had made that week. And so that week was like a wasted week. And all of a sudden I thought, wow, Carmen, how are you ever going to get to your goal if you keep taking 1 step forward and 2 steps back? Because every time I got off track, it was a waste of 2 to 3 weeks in my weight loss journey. It was just like 2 to 3 weeks, poof, gone when it came to weight loss. And all of a sudden, I just had this thought of, no, quit dinking around. How long do you want this to take? How long? Like, you've been on this weight loss journey for a decade and you're still struggling, woman. It's just me talking to myself. Like, how long? How much torture do you want to inflict on yourself? And it was like, no, just get there. Just freaking buckle down, shut your pie hole, quit shoving the food in, and get there already. And I really had this hope that what I had read would be correct, and that when I got to my goal, that it really would be a freedom phase, and then I really would be able to eat all the foods that I loved, in moderation, of course, because if I went and ate like I used to, I was going to get right back to where I was. If you eat, if I went and ate like the morbidly obese woman I was going to become morbidly obese again. And so I'm happy to report that I've been in a size 2 for the past 6.5 years, through a third baby and all of that. I still fit into all my same clothes. And I have much more freedom than I did in the focus phase. Most of the focus phase, I ate around 1,200 calories a day. Now, for me, that is the floor on which I will recommend anybody eat. You can lose a lot of weight very fast. I lost 161 pounds in 13 months never eating less than 1,200 calories a day. Okay. So that's a lot of weight to lose in just over a year eating 1,200 calories. You don't need to starve yourself. You don't need to eat 500 calories a day. None of that malarkey. 1,200 calories a day will get you dramatic results. Today, maintaining a size 2, depending on what workout I'm doing, depending on, my life, whatever that looks like, I eat between 1,600 and 2,000 calories a day. If I'm doing a really intense workout program, then I can eat all the way up to 2,000 calories a day and still maintain my weight. Well, that on some days is almost double what I was eating losing weight. Does that make sense? Like, I can eat a lot of extra food and still maintain my weight pretty easily. And that's a size 2. It's not like I'm maintaining a size 10 or a size 12 or a size 16. That's maintaining a size 2. And, part of me used to think that those chicks that were a size 2, the only way they could maintain it was they had to be sucking on lemons and eating salads and drinking freaking water and shakes all the time. That was the only way they could maintain being skinny, because I had never even maintained being like obese. I was morbidly obese at 288 pounds. I lost weight and got to obese, and I couldn't even maintain that. So in my mind, I can't even maintain obese. Maintaining like small and fit, like impossible in my book. And so anyway, I want to go ahead and talk about this a little bit deeper from a couple different angles. So the whole goal, if you're trying to lose weight, should be not to draw this thing out. It shouldn't be to take, if you can get to your goal in 6 months, like let's just say you have 48 pounds to lose, 2 pounds a week, 8 pounds a month. That means you could get there in 6 months. If you have 48 pounds to lose, get there in 6 months. Don't make it take a year or 2 years or 3 years, because you're prolonging the focus phase versus just getting focused, buckling down, and getting to the freedom phase as quick as freaking humanly possible. And, it's so funny because when you're in the focus phase, the way that I want to cover this because I know somebody's going to ask, well, Carmen, does that mean I can't have any cheats at all? I can't have any treats at all when I'm in the focus phase? Well, first off, let's just talk about that for a second. Most of us that are overweight. Like, I got to 288 pounds by living a cheat life. There's so many times people will be like, oh, well, I talk to some people, sometimes some clients, some friends, some family that, are morbidly obese. And they're like, well, I don't eat that bad. And I get it. I used to think the same exact thing. Like, I was a 288 pound girl that was like, I don't really eat that bad. Who was I kidding? The only way you wind up that fluffy is by eating in a calorie excess. I certainly was not eating that good. And so the truth of the matter is, I was spending a majority of my days cheating, overeating, overindulging, taking in way too many calories than I was burning. That's the facts. I didn't have to like the facts, but that was the facts. So the fact that I was so worried about I wasn't going to get a cheat was really ridiculous, because I had years of cheating and treats. And it was only because that had become my habit, that had become my way of life, that I was even kind of feeling like I maybe was going to be deprived. So it's really altering your mindset of, I don't really deserve anything. Like, there's somebody somewhere that's walking through a dump site looking for food tonight. And the fact that I actually had healthy, fresh food in my home that I could prepare, for me to somehow think that food wasn't good enough when there's someone starving somewhere in the world, like, Carmen, who do you think you are? Get a freaking grip. And this was literally some of the things I used to say to myself, because I had to give my spoiled, rotten, entitled self a reality check when I was being ungrateful for having good, fresh, healthy food. when there was somebody somewhere starving. Does that make sense? So that was first and foremost. The second thing when it comes to this is I used to really think that I gained a lot of weight because I didn't eat. Like I just didn't eat enough food. That ain't how it works. There's people starving in third world countries that are like literally stick thin because they're not eating enough food. We don't gain weight because we're not eating. We gain weight because we're in an excess, not a deficit. Does that make sense? But I'm telling you, I said all these things. Like I was that fluffy, overweight person that was like, I don't eat that bad. Yeah, right. You know, maybe I just don't eat enough food. I said that one. I said it a lot. It sounds so funny now for me to say that I actually said that, but I said it. I believed it. Listen, I wanted to justify my bad behavior. So I was looking for anything that sounded kind of, I don't even know. It doesn't even sound good, but whatever. I believed it. And so here was the thing. Along this road, when I was thinking about the freedom phase and the focus phase, all of a sudden I realized that up until that point, I had let food completely control me. That I had let food like completely control me. And at that point, it's like, no, food is no longer going to be in control. I did allow myself to have some cheats and treats, but instead of it just being when I felt like it or when I wanted it, I made it a reward based on results, which was a concept I had learned through growing businesses. And I just took that concept from the business world and brought it over into the weight loss world. And it's like, okay, you're going to get a reward off of your work, not off of a time, not off of how you're feeling, not off of your cravings. You're going to get a reward based on your results. And so every 5 pounds I lost, I gave myself a cheat or a treat item. I typically save those for date nights. I might have French fries with my grilled chicken. I might have grilled chicken and veggies and then have cheesecake for dessert. But I would allow myself a cheat, or I might be good during dinner and we might stop and get some froyo with, the topping bar. But I allowed myself one cheat or one treat every 5 pounds. And when I started like giving myself a cheat or a treat, I started actually looking forward to it. I would plan it out. It meant more to me than just having the junk whenever I freaking wanted. And slowly but surely, it started to shift. It started to shift from food having control over me to me having control over my food. And when food has control over you, your self-esteem's in the gutter. You feel ashamed. You feel defeated. You certainly don't feel empowered. You don't feel in control. You don't feel confident. You don't feel sexy. I certainly didn't want to be naked with all the lights on in front of my husband. Like I wasn't proud of my form and my rolls and my stomach and, all the other areas that had, excess whatevers. And so, but as time went on and as I continued to build that willpower muscle, and I continued to take the control back and realizing, like really a big part of this in the focus phase was realizing that I had given food control. Like cheese was a big weakness for me. And so there were nights when, and I a lot of times would do really good all the way up until the evening, like from 8 a.m. till 8 p.m. Like I got my gold star. Like I got my badge of like, yes, you did so good. And somewhere between 8 to 10 p.m. at night, this other broad would come inhabit my body. And I would find myself standing in front of the refrigerator or the pantry and just eating things that I said I wasn't going to eat. And it was just like, what in the world? And then I would go down this spiral. I would beat myself up. I would feel ashamed. I would get frustrated. And all of a sudden it was like, wait a minute, Carmen, is that cheese like really stronger than you? The cheese, like the cheese. Cheese. Sour old milk. Is it really stronger than you that when you eat it is going to end up as poo-poo in the toilet tomorrow, caca in the toilet tomorrow? Like, is that really stronger than you? And I really started making a game out of it. True story. There were so many times my husband would walk. Like, I just started talking to my food. I started calling it out for what it was. Like, I would go in the kitchen at night and I would like open up the refrigerator. And at one point I made a sign. I put it on the fridge that said, "You're not hungry. You're just bored. Shut the damn door." That's what the sign said on my refrigerator. And sometimes my husband would be walking up and I would be like with the refrigerator and I'd be like, no, you are not stronger than me. You are cheese. You are an inanimate object. I simply have a habit of eating you, but I'm choosing to say no because my goals are more important than my current cravings. And I remember the first time he walked in on this, all of a sudden he's like, I have no idea how long he was standing there. He's like, babe? Oh, yeah, what's up? He's like, everything okay? I'm like, yep, just was having a moment. We're good. All good. Build my willpower muscle. We're good. There was times he would walk up and peanut butter was a big one for me. You know, I'd be standing there with the peanut butter open, spoon in, and I'd be like, you know, you're just about ready to do it. And I'm like, no, what are you doing? This is peanut butter. This is not line up with your goals. This is poo-poo in the toilet tomorrow. And who is stronger, me or the peanut butter? And it was just like, no, like calling it out for what it was. And can I tell you, in those moments where I actually used that willpower muscle to say no, when I was done, I felt so proud. I felt so empowered. I felt so like, yes, I did it. I won. I beat the peanut butter. I beat the cheese. I beat the cheesecake. I beat the whatever. Instead of beating myself up, feeling so freaking guilty all the time. Another thing I had to get really good at in the focus phase is, let's just say, you know, I'm not going to pretend that we're all Jesus the Christ and we're all perfect, because we're not. And I'm not going to sit on here and pretend like I was perfect and I never messed up, because I didn't. There were times I messed up. But when I was in the focus phase, one of the things I had to get really good at was pressing the reset button. So let's just say I had a moment where I did cave, and there were a few of those. There were moments where I ate half the peanut butter out of the jar in like 5 minutes. And it was like, okay, great. Taking the peanut butter, putting it in my husband's office and just being like, no. And making sure the rest of the day I was on track. Some of those days I was like, oh yeah, Carmen, you want to eat all your calories in one meal? I guess you get water for the rest of the day. I know some of you were like, oh, you starved yourself? No, I didn't starve myself. I ate 2,000 calories for breakfast. I was doing intermittent fasting the rest of the day, burning off the 2,000 calories I ate for breakfast. Because I had to give myself some kind of like, listen, we all learn through consequences, which is why children learn really fast, because typically they have consequences. As adults, if you don't give yourself at work, we learn because we have a boss who gives us a consequence. But when it comes to our health, unless you have hired a coach, and I know some of us, you're like, yes, Carmen, you're my coach, and this is why, because I kick their butts and there's accountability, right? And so anyway, my point is, like, sometimes I had to give myself my accountability. And fine, you want to go blow it? You want to eat all your calories for one meal? That's cool. Enjoy your water for the rest of the day, honey. I had to give myself some tough love. There had to be a consequence for my poor freaking actions. Anyway, but it was constantly reminding myself of where I'm going, why I'm doing this, why this is important to me, why I'm more powerful than all these other things, why this is necessary. It was reminding myself, making every food choice and saying, every food choice, every meal choice, every choice, does this get me closer to my goal, or does this get me further away from my goal? Like literally every choice. Does this get me closer or further away? Because it's doing one or the other. If you are on a quest to lose weight or get healthier, every choice you make does one of two things. It either moves you closer to your goal or further away from your goal. Period. There is no in between. And so it was really looking at every decision I was making and asking myself that question and running my actions through those two examples, closer to my goal or further away from my goal. And when I put it into that kind of context, it made it so much easier to make better decisions in that moment. Another thing that really helped out during the focus phase was getting the junk food out of my house. Like Bye. See ya. Sayonara. Bye. Like, it's when you have somebody who's an alcoholic, okay, that means they have an addiction to alcohol. When they go to get help for their alcoholism, one of the first things they do is they remove themselves from the temptation. They remove themselves from temptation, and they remove the temptation out of their, environment. Because if you leave an alcoholic around alcohol in the beginning, they are not strong enough. They have not strengthened that willpower muscle enough to say no, because there's an addiction also that's there. And so many of us who have struggled with our weight, especially if you come from the place that I come from, which is morbidly obese, and I had been that way for a long time, there's also an addiction. There's a food addiction there. And so, to leave someone who's addicted to food around all this junk food and somehow just to expect yourself to manufacture this willpower you haven't built yet is just silly, and it's foolish. But I had done this for so long. I thought that my want to, or my excitement, or the fact that I should do it would be enough to push me past those bad habits or that food addiction. And it wasn't. And for a decade, I repeatedly, foolishly put myself in situations where the food was still there. I didn't get it out. And I would make the mistake over and over and over again. It wasn't until 6.5 years ago where it was like, no, get it out. If all I have is celery and carrots and cucumbers in my refrigerator, and I decide to go hog wild tonight and, break all the rules, and I killed an entire bunch of celery. Yeah. I destroyed a whole bag of baby carrots. If that was the worst thing that I did, oh well, that was only going to set me back so far. It wasn't like I had ice cream or trail mix or pretzels or potato chips even in my house. And that was with small kids. Back then, we made a lot of the things they ate, and we made serving sizes. And during that time, it was really, because when you first start in the focus phase, you have a pipsqueak of a willpower muscle. But the way you strengthen your willpower muscle is by using it. And the more you use it, the stronger that it gets. And so in the very beginning, until you have a track record of succeeding and until you've built that willpower muscle, get the junk food out of your house. Get it out of your house. I want to spend just a minute or so talking about the freedom phase. Because the freedom phase, the better you are in the focus phase, the more committed you are in the focus phase, the faster you get to the freedom phase. And the freedom phase is where I've been living for the past over 6 years. It's where I've maintained a size 2. It's where I can walk around in my clothes without having Spanx on. It's where I actually can wear a bikini to the beach. Who knew that after abusing my body for so long that was even a thing or even a possibility? But inside of the freedom phase is where 80-20. 80% of the time, I eat really good. 20% of the time, I eat whatever I want. So 80% of the time, I'm going to have my grilled chicken and my vegetables. I'm going to have my shake for breakfast with my apple and yogurt. I'm going to have my toast with my teaspoon of peanut butter. It's where I am on point. I am tracking. I know what's going in. I am intentional. And then the other 20% of the time, it's the pizza. It's the double bacon cheeseburger. It's the onion rings. It's the cheesy French fries. It's the fried pickles as an appetizer. It's the barbecue pulled pork nachos at my favorite restaurant. It's the blizzard with, extra toppings inside of it. It's the s'mores when we're camping. It's the homemade bread on family dinner night. It's all the things that I love in the other 20%. It's going on vacation and eating whatever I want and then getting right back focused when I get back. And so my point is, maintaining your weight is the freedom phase has so much more freedom than the focus phase. But many of us never get to the freedom phase because we cannot stay focused long enough to get there. And that was my story for more than a decade. And so tonight, it's really about recognizing, what phase are you in? Are you in the focus phase or are you in the freedom phase? And if we're in the focus phase, we've got to stop treating it like the freedom phase. We've got to stop treating it like we can have whatever we want when we want. No, you're in the focus phase, which means if you do it the way I did it, you get one cheat or one treat every 5 pounds. That's it. And if you have not hit that 5 pound mark, unless it's on your plan of eating, you don't get it. Like, by the way, in the focus phase, you're tracking everything you eat. My clients either use like a container system to track their food, it tracks their macros, or they use the app called MyFitnessPal to track their calories. And if it's not on their food list or their food plan or in their calorie zone, it's a big fat no, no, that's called the gray zone. I could talk so much longer on this, but tonight I just wanted to give you a foundation of these 2 phases and really encourage you to figure out what phase you're in and start acting appropriately. If you're in the focus phase, it's not about cheats. It's not about treats. It's not about deprivation. It really is about you getting from where you're at to where you want to go as fast as freaking possible so that you can start having more freedom without feeling guilty, so that you can start having more freedom without sabotaging all the hard work that you've put in. So anyway, thank you so much for watching tonight. Make sure before you leave to smash that like button, hit the subscribe button, and we will see you on the next one. Thank you for watching. Have a good night.